I'm Shirley and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about 10 things that you should try to do with your plants in July. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. Thank you. Right then, let's get started. So first of all, I just want to go over several things that, because the weather is now really quite warm, things are going to change with your plants. Your plants are going to feel differently, obviously, with all the different temperature changes and humidity changes. Also, they're in their growing phase and, they're really going strong now. We're in summer, so they're really getting going. So let's get started then. So one of the things, the good old favourite that you should always remember and we all forget is our misters. Because we're getting this dry air in our rooms now, remember the plants need some kind of misting. If you just do it once a night, it'd be really useful. Nighttime's good because they'll have that mist on them during the night and it'll help to sort of soak into the leaves and give them what they need. These types of misters are really good, but you can get little beautiful ones from your garden centres or wherever. So whatever is best for you. But these are quite good because they're very fine. And the other thing is, though, they're a bit expensive. It's about, I don't know, £10, £12, I don't know. Or you can get these. These are just great. Now, I use these bottles for different things. And as we go along, I'll explain what I'm using them for. But, I mean, these don't cost very much. You can get them packs of 2. I often get these from Amazon, no problem. Or even your garden centres. So misting is very important. Now, obviously, the next thing I'm going to talk about is water because this is the problem. They all need water. So watering your plants. There is a problem in the summertime, especially. The top surface of your soil is going to dry. And you're going to think instantly, oh God, she needs a drink. Not necessarily. You don't necessarily want to put your finger right down into the soil. I mean, I don't like doing that, but I mean, sometimes I do. But so the best thing to do is to look at your plant, observe it. Are the leaves in an upright position? Does it look like it's self-supporting? If there's any wilting or browning, but especially the wilting, that's going into a faint stage. So look at your plants and think about when you did your watering last, which brings me to the point that I find that a very good thing to do, especially in this time of the year, with this over-watering tendency in this time of the year, is to say to yourself, well, what's the best day for me to do my watering? And for me personally, it's Saturday mornings, but for you it could be some other time. Just keep it in mind. That's my watering day. And unless the plants are showing signs during the week, that will be your watering day. And if you've missed that day, well, you know it. So like for me, it's like Sunday. Oh God, I didn't do it Saturday, so I've got to do it Sunday. But keep that day in mind because it really does help you keep on track with your watering. Now, when you're watering your plants, I've said this before, but I always use a water softener. If you're living in a town and your water is soft, you may not need this, but if you're living just outside of a town, it's possible that you've got hard water and you need this, or there's too much chlorine in your water anyway. So these are water softeners meant for aquariums, and you can get those from Amazon, and just a few drops in a big volume of water, and it really does do the world of good for the plants, especially calatheas, who love to go brown at the edges. This is so soft, it really does help them. So watering is really important, and your watering day. And remember that one thing, the surface is going to dry up. It could be an hour or 2 after you've just watered them. And your partner or someone else in the house is going to not realise you watered them this morning and think, oh my God, it's going to happen again. This happens in my house. We have to keep talking to each other. Who watered what and when did you water it? So it's just one of those obvious things, but it's amazing how it can kill the plant because the roots can still be wet. Now, another thing that I profess is saucers, especially at this time of the year for some of your plants that are sensitive, such as you can do it with begonias, but I do find that the calatheas really do need the saucers. So if I was you, I would put your plant in a normal pot that is sealed at the bottom, and then just stand it in a saucer of water, bigger than the pot, so that you've got a big space around the actual pot, so that the water rises up to the leaves and helps. And you can just replace that whenever you notice it's going down. It really, really, really does help, especially if you can use the same water that you used for normal watering. But I mean, I don't always do that, but it really does help. So always try to remember to fill up your saucer and let your plant have that extra bit of water. Some plants don't necessarily need it, but as I said, something like a calathea or something that you notice is forever needing watering, that type of plant, that's your cue. Get your saucer out. It's really useful to do. Another thing that we ought to just mention, because I mean, it's said so many times, I know, but fertilizer. I use a seaweed based or a fish emulsion based fertilizer. Use whatever one you think works for you. And always make sure that you have your wonderful trusty little friends, your spoons, your measuring spoons, because they do need a certain amount of fertilizer to a certain amount of water. So those are useful things to have. So buy yourself some extra saucers and some of these little spoons. They're very good. And what I was going to say about the fertilizer is, yes, you can fertilize your plants once every 6 weeks. But I always say fertigate, because I find it's a lot better for the plants. Basically, if you have to have a spoonful of fertilizer every 6 weeks, just say to yourself, well, split that into 6 for the weeks, individual weeks, and that little drop, put that in your water when you water them once a week. That way they get this little bit of enrichment during the week, and you don't have to take the risk of perhaps burning their roots with a strong dose of fertilizer. So that's just another little thought. So in July, obviously you'll be fertilizing all through the year in one way or another, but it's still applicable to what you need to remember for July. Now, the next thing that I would talk about is our plants. Now, the plants are in full-blown growing mode. So some of your plants, if you've had them for a year, they might well be bursting out everywhere now, you know, roots and all. And you just might not realise it because you just can't see inside these pots. So think about what you've had for about a year. Think about whether or not it's growing extra shoots. If it's growing lots of extra shoots, most likely the roots are growing as well and getting compacted. So not all of your plants, but some of them. You can tell by just looking around. You know whether or not you changed them last year. So changing your soil and upsizing your plant is a good idea at least once a year. We usually do it in the spring, but if we've forgotten, do it in the summer because it still helps your plants, you know. Now, if you're using soil for an aroid plant, such as a monstera, philodendron, or alocasias, they also need an aroid mix. And an aroid mix is very simple for you to make up. You just get a good houseplant soil, buy yourself a bag of perlite. Perlite is not good to breathe in, so treat it with respect. Take very small scoops and take them down. Don't just throw them in, or you'll have a cloud of it, and that's not so good. But perlite is very good for your plants, so add perlite to your soil. Now, if that's just for something such as a calathea, that's fine. But if you're going to plant an aroid plant, then you need some aroid soil. So then add perlite and some large pieces of orchid bark. And a good thing I always tell everybody, add worm castings, because worm castings is very good as well. You don't have to buy these things all at once. Just put them on a piece of paper, just note them down, and then just buy yourself what you can, when you can, and when you can remember it, and it will do your plants the world of good. So upsizing into a bigger pot is a good thing. And using the correct soil. Now, for the plants that you've decided that you don't need to repot right now, some soil put around the top would be a very good idea. So you just get a spoonful of soil and you just sprinkle it around the top of your plant, because just like a bowl of sugar, the soil goes down. It just slips down over the year, all the waterings and everything else, and it just goes down. So put some extra soil around the top of those plants that you're not actually going to repot, and that will give them a bit of extra nutriments, especially if there's something like worm castings in it. It's really good for your plants. So the next thing I'm thinking about is, this is the time of the year when the creatures come out. Now, we're in and out through the doors because it's such lovely weather. Oh, we have our windows open, and what comes in? All the unwanted guests, and on maybe a new plant that you may have bought into the house. So check your plants for bugs. Go into the plant and look under the leaves. They hide. Spider mites hide under there. Mealybugs are white blobs. You can't miss them. There's aphids, of course, tiny little blobs. There are some green ones. I'm not sure what they're called now. But just look around your plants and see. Now, if something's got bugs on it, take it away from everything else. And then get yourself some rubbing alcohol. You can get it in lots of different places. And mix up 1 part of rubbing alcohol to 3 parts of water. And then put it in trusted spray bottle. This does not hurt the leaves. I don't know about the flowers. I would just avoid them. But you spray everything around the plant, and then wipe off the bugs if you can. If not, give it a few minutes, maybe even just leave it overnight somewhere in the corner, somewhere away from everything else, and then in the morning the stuff would have done its job. I mean, it's pretty immediate, I think. So then you can just go and rinse it off with a bottle of water outside in the garden. You know, if you haven't got if you haven't got a shower head outside, you know, a hose, then you could just use a bottle of water outside and just, you know, sprinkle it over like that and make sure that they're all removed and gone. Now, if you do that, let it dry. When it dries, give it 1 more squirt. I would. And then I would do it once a week for at least 3 weeks. So I would do it 3 times over 3 weeks, because that is once each week. Because obviously these things, they lay eggs. The eggs are hidden. Sometimes they don't get the spray. You've only got to get 1 or 2 of them that actually live, and then they'll start all over again. So if you do it once a week over 3 weeks, they say 2 weeks, but I would prefer 3 weeks, you can be sure then that you've killed them all off. I wouldn't leave it near an open window if that's what you did, because perhaps they were coming in through that window. So maybe you've got a plant outside that window that's got something on it and it's blowing in. Who knows? Just have a think about what's best and where your plant is. And then move it somewhere else. So this is very good. Very, very good. Now, after you've done that and your plant is nice and healthy, then a good idea is to use neem oil. Now, neem oil does kill insects, but it prevents them coming because they just don't like the smell of it or taste of it or whatever, I don't know. And they just don't want to know. Now, I will just say, for us as human beings, this rubbing alcohol and the neem oil, they do have a smell. So if I was you, I would either spray your plant in another room that you don't often go in, let it dry off for a day or two before you bring it in, or just leave it there until it's gone through its 3 weeks, which would be the clever thing to do, because then you know for a fact that you're not infecting another plant. Any plants that were near it, by the way, check them. In fact, a good idea is just take them into the other room as well and give them a good spray. And treat them the same way as though they were infected, because they will travel from plant to plant. If you've got like a sideboard or a big windowsill or something like that, they can travel from plant to plant. Now, the neem oil also has its own smell. So I would do them in the morning in another room. If you don't want to do it in another room, then do it in the morning. Because then by the afternoon, a lot of that smell has dissipated. And by the time you're ready to sit down, watch TV in the evening, a lot of the time that smell will have just gone. So those are just a couple of little tips for you to help you out with the dreaded bug situation. If you want an in-depth video on, for example, fungus gnats, I have a video on the fungus gnats. So where are we now? Now, a lot of us have an orchid. So just a quick one with the orchid. The orchids, I've had orchids for many years, and I've got all kinds of orchids. This one is I'm going to have to read it, Calianthe. I can never remember how to pronounce it. It's a Plone Pit Fantasy, and I had her a year or two ago. Now, what you want to do with these is, if you find they have any bugs or water, when you're spraying water, do not get it down into the centre little areas of your plant. It does not do them any good. So if you find that you've sprayed them because you've got bugs, or you thought that they needed a water spray, which I don't believe orchids do. Orchids are a bit like succulents. They're very fleshy, thick-leaved. They do not need spraying. But if you have to spray them because of some bug or other, give it a minute or two, then get some tissue and just go down those centre points and make sure you get the excess water away, because it's no good for the plant. If the plant, despite your efforts, is sort of showing wrinkles on the leaves, you can quite clearly see that it seems to be wrinkles. That means, and it's not smooth, that means that your plant is dehydrated and it needs extra water. So rather than just stick it under a tap and run the water through, which is what a lot of people do, put your plant in its own pot and get your water. Normal water that has been treated is a really good thing, because our tap water very often will burn the roots of orchids. So it's just a thought. And then fill your plant and your pot, the outer pot, right up to almost the top, and let it absolutely soak in that full container. And just leave it for about say 15 minutes, and then take it out, throw all that excess water away and let it drain. And when you're draining, give it like half an hour or so, an hour. If you forget, then the next morning check it then. And just make sure there's no excess water in your lower pot, and throw that away, and then leave your plant. And you'll find that bath, that soak, has really done it some good. And all those wrinkles that you're looking at have gone. So that's just a little tip for the orchids, because we all, quite a lot of us anyway, have an orchid at some time. And a lot of orchids die because people just don't realise these simple things. They're just simple things. So that's a little thing. And lastly on my list is hanging plants. Now, hanging plants, take this one for example. She's absolutely beautiful. Look at all the flowers. And she's got some little babies on the end here. And she's had lovely little flowers. They look like jasmines. Just look at that. Gorgeous. Now, obviously not all hanging plants have flowers. I'm just showing you that. But your hanging plant is hanging, and it's hanging high, and heat rises. So this hot, dry air that we're all experiencing is up there on our ceiling, warmer than it is down here with us. And this poor plant is hanging up there. So it's easy to forget your hanging plants. I do sometimes. I go around with my watering cans and I'm like this, going around. And then the next day I come in and I sort of go, oh, like this, and look up or whatever it is. And there's the plant. Oh my, and it's up there. So all I'm saying is remember your hanging plants. And you may need to water them more often than once a week, because as I said, they're hanging up there in this drier atmosphere. So try to keep that in mind now that we're going into these hot months of July and August. So I think I've covered quite a lot of things, and I hope that this is going to be helpful for you. Any questions or anything you want to tell me, please leave a comment. The comments are good for the channel, and I love to hear from you as well. If you have any questions about orchids or any other plants, you can always ask me in the comments. I'll do my best to answer you and give you some good advice, hopefully. I've done some videos recently. One is on the Calthea plants, how to look after them. That's an in-depth video. It's very important. I've just done some videos on our beautiful monsteras. If you've got a monstera, you need some advice about that. There's a couple of videos on that. My next video is going to be about holidays and what we do during our holidays for our plants. And with that, I'd just like to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. And if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget, like and subscribe.